Hello students, this is Professor Del Russo, and I'm making this short screencast to supplement the video for how to apply the registrant risk assessment scale. I want to emphasize a couple of things that were not clear in the original video. First of all, sometimes you may have a case where there are multiple victims and multiple offenses. So when you apply a category, for example, like age of the victim over here, number 3, and you have multiple victims, you select for entry into this category the age of the victim who is the youngest. So if, as in my example, you have a 16-year-old victim and a 9-year-old victim, you apply the scale using the victim who is 9 years old. Thus, she would be under 13, and you would select under 13. You always select based upon the fact that is most adverse to the registrant or presents the highest risk. So again, if you have two victims, one who is 16, for example, and one who is 9, you apply the scale using the 9-year-old victim and you select under 13. Now, category number 5 counts the number of offenses and victims. In category number 5, we're counting sex offenses. Sex offenses. So in my hypothetical here, you have a sex offense involving a 16-year-old, and then a few years later, there was another sex offense with a 9-year-old. You would have 2 sex offenses. So number of offenses and victims is about sex offenses. And let's take a look now at number 8, history of antisocial acts. This is where we count all of the acts other than sex offenses. Offenses other than sex offenses. And it includes offenses that aren't even criminal, like truancy and maybe fighting. Supposing there are records from the jail and the sex offender was disciplined for fighting, or it involves a young person who is in high school and there are multiple acts of truancy or disrespect to teachers or something like that, they would be considered antisocial acts and you would count them. You do not count sex offenses here. Those sex offenses are captured in number 5, which we just spoke about. That would be double counting. So we count all sex offenses in number 5 and any other offenses in number 8, history of antisocial acts, including offenses that aren't criminal, that may be described in your file. And lastly, I want to tell you about number 11, down here on the left, therapeutic support. The sex offender has to be in sex offender treatment. They must be in sex offender therapy. If they're in treatment for AA, or they are in general psychological treatment that is not related to treating them for their sexually offensive behavior, then that doesn't count. They must be in sex offender behavior. And of course, as I said on the original video, if they are in therapy, then you can score them on number 9, response to treatment. If they are in no therapy at all, of course they can have a response to treatment. So number 9 is not scored at all. They would get a 0 for number 9. So again, if you have multiple victims or multiple cases, you select the one most adverse to the registrant. Let's say in one case there was no violence at all. In another case, there was a gun used. Well, up here on degree of force, you would score the registrant as a high risk because in at least one of the cases, a weapon was used. I hope this clarifies those 3 issues or 4. Good luck doing this project.